Hello and welcome to another segment of the LPE Author Chat series. I am Kimberly K. LaBoo, CEO and founder of LaBoo Publishing Enterprise. Thank you for joining us again. This month we are having our special Anthology Edition featuring authors from the soon-to-be released book, True Wealth Starts in the Mind. Today, our special guest is Mr. Lee Williams. He wrote the chapter, No More Backwards Thinking. Welcome to the broadcast, Mr. Lee Williams.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. Glad to be here.
It's so exciting to have you. Your chapter is yet another amazing chapter in True Wealth Starts in the Mind. And I'm just going to start by just reading for our viewers the first part of your opening chapter, your opening sentence, I'm sorry.
Sure.
You said, I believe most people think backwards. They look at their physical situation, get emotional about it, then think of what to do. This is called backwards thinking. In order to stop thinking backwards and think forward, you must grow up. And growing up is a decision. We are all familiar with growing up. Physically, your body changes, but are you aware that you can grow up physically, but never grow up mentally and never grow up emotionally? Mental growth is one of the keys to becoming wealthy. What a powerful opening statement, and it's so true. A lot of us can attest to that with people we know, right?
True, without a shadow of a doubt.
So why did you choose the title, No More Backwards Thinking?
Well, from my understanding, and when you're really looking at becoming wealthy, we've been trained to think a certain way. Your mind is set. Your mind is set. You have to retrain your mind. You have to reset your mind. In order for that to happen, you have to back up to the beginning and start over again. If I want to get a job, there's a mindset to get a job. If I want to be an athlete, there's a mindset to be an athlete. Well, to be trained how to be wealthy, there's a mindset to become wealthy. And it's just the opposite of being broke. Wow. If most of our family members have a tradition of passing on poverty, that's because everybody's following what we call the same script. That script is taught automatically without even thinking about it. If I start asking questions and making comments, everybody will give me the same answer. You were told to go to school, get a good education, so you can get out and get a good job. Then you're gonna get married and have 2 children. You wanna buy a house. If I go through all that, everybody will say the same thing. The question is, isn't everybody different and individual? Then why is everybody giving me the same answer? Because you're following the same script and don't realize it's a script. So what you have to do, you have to reverse it. And I call it flipping the script.
That's awesome. Yeah, I agree. And you're right. We're taught things, like you said, almost without fail, like just growing up, seeing certain things. It's not really because you're being taught verbally, somebody telling you. A lot of it is because we're watching what our parents do and we emulate that. And not really learning for ourselves until we get much older, or if there's some pivotal moment that we realize this doesn't seem right.
But am I right or wrong? They were taught the exact same thing.
Exactly.
Can I give you another example?
Yes, absolutely.
When you were growing up, you were told to wash the dishes. Did your mother ask you how you felt about it?
Absolutely not.
Okay. The father told you to empty the trash. Did he ask us, do we care? All right, so now you go to school, and when you go to school, what you're being taught is how to follow instructions and keep your mouth closed. Yeah. Believe it or not, the key to being employee of the year, the key to being employee of the century is to be able to follow instructions and keep your mouth closed. Guess why most people can't have a job? Because they can't follow instructions or they can't keep their mouth closed. If you can do those 2 things, you'll automatically have a job and do well. So you've been taught how to be an employee. When you go to school, the teacher says, have a seat, get your books out, sit down, close your mouth. When you're playing the sports, they would say, run the sprint. Coach don't ask you how you feel about it. When you're in band, pick those legs up. You're being taught and trained continuously how to follow instructions and keep your mouth closed.
Wow.
But an entrepreneur gets a job and does that so quickly, he's trying to figure out what's next. There's got to be another challenge. I got that. What's next? And that's when you have to break open that mindset and start thinking on a bigger scale.
Yeah, yeah, that's good stuff. Perfect analogy. So, and I can tell that you are a master storyteller. You love telling stories because you shared a lot of stories in your chapter, and it was really it really made it so rich, so nice. And so I wanted you to share the story, if you don't mind, about the squirrel, because I think it drives home a critical point about decision making and all of this.
Yes, many years ago, when I first started in business, I came across this story and it just sort of makes sense. The story goes that a family is traveling through the mountains around the curves, and the father's driving, the mother's in the right seat, the two children in the back seat. So I use my wife, Margo, and my children, Madison and Morgan. And they come around the corner and they see a squirrel in the road. Squirrel is dead, of course. So the father decides now's the time to have a conversation. He asks the question, what killed the squirrel? The mother has an idea, whether it was a teenager driving too fast. He nods his head like, it's a good point. He asks the little girl, what killed the squirrel? A big truck, Daddy, a big truck killed the squirrel. And then he asks the boy what killed the squirrel, and he comes up with an answer. And all of those, of course, are good answers. But the question is, what killed the squirrel? What, a motorcycle, a truck, and what it boils down to is what killed the squirrel was really indecision. Indecision because if you ever watch a squirrel, the squirrel starts crossing the road, and then he stops, then he looks, then he goes back, he goes back, he goes back, he goes back. And then finally the truck comes and knocks him over. So the squirrel should have been across the road a long time ago. And what that says is that you have to be able to make decisions, and you have to be able to make them quicker. If you're going to be in business, if you're going to be wealthy, you cannot be afraid of making decisions. I used to say that God will pass the decision plate in front of you. If you decide not to make a decision, he's going to pass this plate to somebody else. And then somebody else is going to make a decision about what you didn't make a decision about. And it will not be in your favor. It's going to be in their favor. So when you have a chance to make a decision, make a decision. Even if it's the wrong decision, you learn from it and you come back and you make a better decision.
Absolutely. Wow, that was good. So you also wrote, so in this decision, after that story, you wrote, becoming wealthy is not an accident. It will only happen after you make a decision that is non-negotiable. So my question to you is, was there a specific moment or event in your life that prompted you to make a decision about your financial future?
Woo, you're making me sweat, girl. You're making me sweat. Yes. I was working in television, and I met this young lady, and she wanted to marry me. And her name is Margo, my lovely wife, and I apologize for not being here. One of our best friends turned 60, so she traveled to spend some time with her on her birthday. And it was time to get married, and I went and asked for a raise. And my boss told me, not just no, but you put some colorful language with it. And I was like, I've been here 8 years. I've worked, I did everything you asked me to do. I did everything by the book. I'm the hardest working person you got. I asked you for a raise so I can get married and continue my life and my career, and you say no. And then at that point, I realized that my success could not be in the hands of someone that doesn't really care that much about me. My job became a conflict of interest because the job stands for just over broke. And what was happening, I was just over broke, and I wanted to go to another level, but I couldn't do it with just a job. And I think God knows that wasn't for me. I had 18 jobs before. I did them all, and I feel I did them pretty well, and I maxed them out. Well, once you max something out, you got to move. You got to max, and you got to move.
That's
I had
good.
started getting comfortable until it was time for me to get married. And it caused me to look at myself and say, I will determine how much money I'm going to make. It will not be somebody else. And at that point in time, I had been introduced to a company. I began to work part-time and began to do some things. And at that point, I quit my job and went full-time. And a year later, my income had gone to like 50-something thousand dollars a year. And I was only making $18,000 on my full-time job. 18,000, whatever. I was trained to get a job, and I was going to just over broke, living paycheck to paycheck. See, you're taught how to survive. Really, you don't have to be taught how to survive. Believe it or not, you will survive without being taught how to survive. But to be successful, oh no, you got to go through a whole different training because your mindset is totally different. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Most people have a job, they work from Monday to Friday, and they want to take the weekend off. An entrepreneur is not trying to take time off. He's trying to get the job done. I remember when I got my first job and they said, we're going to work 40 hours. I said, okay, boom. I'm going to have this done in 3 to 4 days. They said, no. It's 8 hours a day. I said, why are you breaking it up like that? Why can't I just do 24, and I'm done in 2? They said, no. And I'm sitting there saying, this is crazy. Why would I want to work 5 days if I can get it done in 2 days? So you see what we're doing? We're condensing the time frame. Yeah. When you want to be successful, you don't have time. When I say you don't have time, it's 24 hours in a day. God's not going to give you any more time, but you have a sense of urgency. You know, if you have 2 choices, time or sense of urgency, most people would think, Kimberly, that time will be the most important. Yeah. I can assure you, you're not going to get any more time than what you got. So what you realize is that if you had a sense of urgency, right, then you would get everything done in the amount of time that you have. But you can have time and not have a sense of urgency and get nothing done because you think you still have time.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Ooh, that makes sense, and that's good stuff. Huh. You said the longest period of time in a person's life is not the amount of time it takes to do a thing, but it's the time it takes to make it. It's the time it takes just to make the decision.
Yes.
Why do you think people are so indecisive?
Because in their past, they have made wrong decisions. So now fear controls them. Ooh. Many people grew up, and it depends on your family structure, you couldn't never do anything right. You know, dad was hard on you, mom was hard on you. It's like you couldn't do anything right. And so you don't want to make people upset. You don't want to displease anybody. So they become neutral. And to be a leader and to be wealthy, you got to step out. You have to realize that in anything that you've ever done, this is what happens. It starts off as fun. Whether it's dating, whether it's going to church, whether it's playing sports, whatever you're doing, you're having what? Fun. And then there comes a time when you say, it's time to get serious. Am I right? Yes. When you say it's time to get serious, the fun is getting ready to go out the window and you're getting ready to dive into this thing. Yes. And so what took you so long to say it's time to get serious? Because now you're getting ready to go into a tunnel. And you're going to win once you come out of the tunnel. But many people, Kimberly, never go into the tunnel. They stay on the fun wheel. They stay on the fun wheel. It's called a fun wheel. Now, fun is different things to different people. Yeah. For some people, fun is hanging around your friends. Fun is doing the sport that you was doing when you was little. Fun is eating, having fun, watching movies. It's stuff that has nothing to do with making money. Yeah. And then at some point, it's time to grow up. Remember we was talking about that? Yeah. It's time to grow up financially. It's time to grow up mentally. That means you now have to do what grown people do. You got to get in the grind, and you got to do some stuff maybe you don't want to do, but you got to do it to be successful. Yeah. Because God placed success 1 centimeter on the other side, whatever you said you don't want to do. So if he did that, you're going to go to a certain point and stop. He knew this. He knew you were going to stop right there. Look at the Israelites. They stopped right there. And then they throw their hands up. And that's when he steps in. But you have to take it as far as you can take it. And when you stop, faith takes over. Faith takes over because you don't know which way to go. And he's just saying, I'm not gonna free you if you're gonna stay in Egypt. I need you to go to the Red. You need to get through the desert, get to the Red Sea. You know, get to where you need to be, where I can create the miracle. The miracle is not going to happen where you're comfortable. The miracle can only happen when you're at the end. There ain't nowhere else to go. That's called surrender. You see that? We see this before. This is surrendering. And then he says, okay, I got you now. That's when he picks it up. And when he picks it up, he does things with you way above you could ever imagine, because you can't even understand what he has for you. And that's when it starts blowing your mind and you're going, there's no way possible I scripted this. So now you're stepping into your purpose. Now you're stepping into your purpose, and that's what it's all about. And then things begin to open up for you. If Moses had never accepted the assignment, God would have never sent the people. Why would he send the people to a person that's not going to lead them? You'll kill them. He had to accept the assignment. And he's telling each one of us, I gave an assignment to you. Once you accept the assignment, I would send you the people that you need to make the assignment happen.
Nice.
But we got to step into it.
Yes. Wow, we sure do. You said your mind is an environment where you can change the world one thought at a time. Explain your theory on that.
Well, if you think about it, it's a thing called, I call it the 3 E's. It deals with exposure, excitement, and experience. If you realize environment is made up of these things, I can change the way I think if I get exposure. And many people don't realize it. They can get exposure but not have an experience. For example, I can go to class. I'm sitting in class, I'm getting what? Exposure. I'm sitting in church, I'm getting what? Exposure. But if I don't experience, that exposure meant nothing. You see what I'm saying? If I don't engage, if I don't ask a question, if I don't think, if I don't comment, if I don't process, even though I've got the exposure, I had no experience in that. Does that make sense? When you start getting the experience, like I say, Kimberly, is it true that this can happen? You say, yes, I'm getting excited now. Because you're responding to my intelligence. You're responding to my emotion. We're engaging. The change is getting ready to happen. When that student asks a question, that teacher looks at him, and that teacher answers the question, and those eyes get big. Oh, that exchange, that's another E I need to put in there. That exchange just happened. That is what created the environment. In chemistry, if I take any one of those elements out, it changes the structure of the environment. That's why people don't think they're important. You don't understand. You sitting there being who you are is very important for the environment to be what it needs to be. You taking out, change the environment. That's why God set it up. He knew. Yeah, you understand what I'm saying? I didn't say nothing. You knew it was going to happen. That's why you got to understand. You knew it was going to happen. He knew on the road that there was going to be a gentleman that got hurt, that got robbed. He knew somebody had. He didn't send him before he sent the guy that got robbed. The guy that got robbed had to go first.
Right.
Right. And then he came afterwards to take care of him. God knows when the cross is going to happen. He knows when the opportunity is going to. That's why he's trying to get you ready for the opportunity. You are going to meet. You're going to run into everything you need. Everything is going to happen. But if you're not ready when it happens, or you get there too early or get there too late, you missed it.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That's what they say. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
I like that. Write that down.
Stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
I like that.
So you wrote, you said you must start with the end in mind. The process of building wealth is a mathematical design. It will not happen by accident. Luke 14:28 says, for which one of you, when he wants to build a tower, does not first sit down and calculate the cost to see if he has enough to complete it?
Yes.
So how does one begin with the end in mind? Like, what does that look like for the average person that hasn't really figured it out yet?
Well, I think first of all, you have to write it down. Without vision, back to you have to write. You have to take the vision. If God gives you something, stop thinking it was just a thought, because thoughts are things. Start writing down vision. Start writing down thoughts. I believe that once you write it down, Kimberly, it takes the emotion out. We are emotional beings until you're trained how to think wisely as opposed to emotionally. We make emotional decisions. I do prison ministry, and in prison ministry, we may be before 60 or 70 inmates discussing what happened. Most of them would say, if I had to do it again, I wouldn't do the same thing. Now, there's still a few of them say I'd do it again, right? They're going to stay in jail for a while, all right? But for the most part, most of them would say, if I had thought about it, I wouldn't have done it. So they didn't make an intelligent decision. They made an emotional decision. And when emotions are high, many times intelligence is what? Low. And so when you raise that intelligence, sometimes you can control your emotions a little better. Does that make sense? Yes. And so what's happening in life is, in order to move forward, man, we have to understand we can create that environment. We can make things happen that we want to make happen. But in order for it to do it, we have to know where we're going. The financial piece is mathematical. It is mathematical. I've got to have a what I want. My insight might be, let's just say it's $1 million. If I want to have $1 million, I write that down. Now, what's your time frame in having $1 million? So my time frame is going to be maybe 20 years. Okay. Now you have to put all the details inside to make it happen. What are the things that are needed to make this happen? Well, I need to be saving or investing $1,000 a month. If I can invest $1,000 a month, and I can do it for 20 years, and I can get a crazy rate of return of maybe 10, 12%, whatever it may be, then I'll have $1 million in 20 years. Oh, okay. So now I need to have a job or a business that allows me to have the extra what? Because I can't just make 1,000. I want to what? Invest 1,000. So you see what exposure did? The exposure, first of all, no man gave me the idea. God gave me the idea. Yeah. I wrote it down, and now I got a dream of $1 million. But if I show it to most people, they would say, you crazy, because they didn't give it to me. Does that make sense? When God gives you something, he expects for you not to say, I don't have it, but he expects you to go do what you got to do to make it happen. And you don't have to take your dream to somebody else and say, what you think. Excuse me, what you think don't matter. Most people look at their what? Income, and they say, I can't do it. What did God say? What did he say? If he said you could do it, how you let some man that don't know you, don't even like you, decide how your life is going to be? Where did that thinking come from? We got to break that. Does that sort of make sense?
Yes. That's true, because people make decisions for you based on their own circumstances, trying to tell you what you should not do. I've experienced that. So tell us, what is the best piece of financial advice you've ever received?
It came from a good friend of mine by the name of Ivan Earl, and he told me that it's not about how much money you make. It's about how much money you save.
Okay.
You can make $100,000. If you spend 101, you're not just broke, you broke up. You broke up. You understand? You broker than the regular broke person because you spent a lot more. At the end of the year, when you look at the fact that you've got paid all this money, ask yourself the question, of the money that you got paid this year, and everybody will say, I made $60,000 this year. Of the $60,000 that you made, how much do you still have?
Wow.
Oh. How much did you say? Somebody says, what, $1,000? $2,000? Then you didn't make $60,000. You made $2,000.
Wow.
See, SC&G made a lot. Your car payment made a lot. Your mortgage took all this. They made money. You didn't make the money. All you did was transported your money from your job to the bill collectors.
Wow.
So you're in the transportation business. No matter what business you think you're in, you're in the transportation business.
Wow.
You can transport your check to the debt collectors. And that mindset has to change. Does that make sense? I have to think what? Bigger. But to think bigger, I have to get more exposure. But when I get exposure, I got to get involved and get experience because my confidence in believing in myself has to rise. You cannot outperform your belief level, right? So whatever you believe is what you're going to do. Not what you say. Not what you say. People say what they want to be. People they do who they are. Because you can't outperform who you really believe you really are.
That's your core. Yeah.
So but if I can change the core, if I can change what I'm putting in there, if I can change the process, and then if I can change my practice habit, I practice more often, I'll get better. I'll get sharper. I'll become an assassin. And whatever my job is, I'll get better at it. I remember the first time we made six figures. I remember the first time we made $100,000. I was so excited. But then when I had to pay taxes, I was so bad.
I killed it.
And a gentleman sat me down and explained to me why I was paying more taxes than he was paying, and I made less money. And then the next year, we saved $100,000. So yes, you can make 100, but can you save 100,000? Next level. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So no matter where you go, no matter what you do, what you should always be doing is realize God got you here for a reason. There's a vision He wants me to get. My guy was talking about he's gonna make $100,000 a year. I'm sitting there going, a year? What would it be like to make $100,000 a month? Okay, but watch this. Somebody else is sitting there saying, what would it be like to make $100,000 a week? And there are people that make $4, $5, $6 million a year, which is $100,000 a week, but it had to come first from the year to the month, to the week, to the day, because when the exposure came, they didn't stop based on what somebody else said. They took it as I'm here for a reason. Okay, if he can do that, I'm gonna double that. I'm gonna 10 times that. And the mind began to, and when it started working, and you started writing it down, and you mapped out his math. If I make this happen, boy, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh, we are out of time actually, but yes, right. The time went so quickly. But I want you to share your cop theory before we go. You said
one more time. You want me to share what I need to hear?
Your cop theory. You said to succeed, we must learn how to be a cop. You have a cop theory.
Yes. Well, we talked about it earlier. The C stands for clear, and the O is going to stand for obsess, and the P is going to stand for purposeful. Okay, you have to be clear on what you're supposed to be doing and why you're supposed to be doing it, and then you have to be obsessed with it because, Kimberly, it's that passion that makes you great. See, everybody can do certain things, but Michael Jordan had passion. It made him great. Tiger had passion. Mike Tyson had. See, it's the passion that makes you great at what it is you're doing. And always remember that your purpose will focus you. People will frustrate you.
Say that one more time.
Well, people are in your life to frustrate. Everybody think people came to help. No, I know people. I was a people once. People frustrate you, but your purpose focuses you. Does this sort of make sense? So you got to keep your purpose in front of you. And then God will send you the people to make your purpose come true. That's
good. That's so rich right there. That's a great point to end on. I love that. Woo! Y'all writing that down? I know we got viewers watching. I know they must be taking notes. Oh, man, this was great. Thank you so much for being part of the broadcast of this series, For True Wealth Starts in the Mind. the new book that's set to release this month. So stay tuned, everyone, because it's coming. And I'm so excited about it. And you know, you guys can see from the interview why I'm so excited about it. It's just powerhouse conversations in there, great information that is going to feed your soul and your bank account if you follow what these leaders are saying. And it's just such good stuff. So thank you so much, Lee, for joining us on this evening. And thank you to our viewing audience for being here for another edition of the LPE Author Chat series in our special anthology series featuring authors from True Wealth Starts in the Mind. Thank you so much. We have another interview that's coming up, so stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for this entire series because it is powerful. And remember, guys, if you are someone who's thinking about writing your own book, head on over to www.laboopublishing.com and contact us there. Thank you so much. Take care and have a blessed evening. Good night, everybody. Bye-bye.